What's going on, guys? Phantasm Mask here, and welcome to my Game of the Year 2014 video. Because last year was pretty cut and dry. Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, no qualms about it. At least I think I gave that Game of the Year last year. I don't even really remember. But this year has been especially difficult because before I tell you what my Game of the Year is, I'm not even going to go through a whole nominee I'll throw out a few honorable mentions, but I don't have a top 10 list. And that kind of segues into what I wanted to talk about with this video before I tell you my Game of the Year, is that 2014 has been rough. There are some people out there who will tell you, no, it's been fine. There are plenty of indie games out there that you could have played, to which I say I don't have a PC to do it. 2014 has been a rough year for gaming, both with games coming out and with the industry as a whole, and even so much, unfortunately, with the social aspect of gaming. Like, for example, at the time that I'm recording this, it's been about a week, a little over a week since Lizard Squad took down Xbox Live and PSN on Christmas, and that's just one of the many problems that we've had this past year. All the bullshit with the social justice movement, Anita Sarkeesian and things like that, and then the people who only made the situation worse by sending death threats to these kind of people. Gaming in 2014 has been pretty ugly from both a technical aspect, social aspect, and just even when it comes to releases. This year has been one of the least interesting years in gaming that I can recall. I wouldn't say it's the worst, but let's just take Ubisoft, for example. Watch Dogs, the holy savior of what's now current gen, came out and was utterly disappointing. I was not impressed with that game whatsoever. You had Destiny come out, which was hyped up to be this brand new IP that was going to completely change how console gaming was, and it's from Bungie, and they did Halo, and look at where it is now. The story's been almost completely removed. Excuse me. And even though, granted, I keep finding myself going back and playing that game, but playing it with friends, I can't really play it by myself. I just get bored because it's the same thing over and over again. You also had technical disasters such as Assassin's Creed Unity. You could find screenshots, videos, hell, even videos on my channel of just Assassin's Creed Unity not working. This year has been hopefully an educational experience for developers and publishers and even gamers out there. And, I expect my games to at least work at launch. I don't expect them to be perfect, but to at least work and be functional. AC Unity, I'm looking at you. But this year has just been a huge clusterfuck. And in all of this, there were a few shining gems in gaming. First off, it's kind of going in a bit of a chronological order. It was in February or March. I can't even really recall. I think it was March. We had our first taste of what Metal Gear Solid 5 is going to be with Ground Zeroes, and I know there are a lot of naysayers out there, my brother included, who constantly taunts me for saying I bought a $30 tech demo, and I can see where people come from with that point, but I also put 26 hours into Ground Zeroes, replaying it and just getting a feel for it, finding all the little Easter eggs, all the little subtle things within that game and all the missions. It was so much fun to play. I really, really enjoyed Ground Zeroes. Obviously, it's not really Game of the Year material. We'll probably be talking about Metal Gear Solid 5 towards the end of 2015, providing that the Phantom Pain doesn't have any delays or anything like that and is scheduled to come out on time sometime this year. Probably be revisiting that late next year, or late this year, I should say. Also, Wolfenstein: The New Order also came out, I think it was in April, and Wolfenstein: The New Order is my Game of the Year. I don't think you will find another game this year that encompasses what a video game is, which is supposed to be nothing but fun. It doesn't necessarily have to tell an enthralling story. People praise The Last of Us for telling this great story, but at the end of the day, it's still not a great game. It would make it for a very good CG movie, or even a really good live action movie for that matter. But at the end of it's not a very good game. And I know I've gotten flack for that before, but personally, I don't think that The Last of Us is that good of a game. Whereas Wolfenstein: The New Order, granted, it does not tell the best story, it tells something very interesting. It's almost like Philip K. Dick's The Man in the High Castle, except with submachine guns and assault rifles, dual wielding them, destroying Nazi robots. And it's just completely insane. And it keeps in the vein of absurdity that is the Wolfenstein universe and series. Same thing with kind of like how Doom is. Doom's kind of absurd as well. But this game was the most pleasurable experience I've had all year. A few other honorable mentions, like Far Cry 4, Far Cry 4 right here. Far Cry 4 was also a pleasurable experience, but I feel like it was more of the same, and I was kind of leaning towards giving that Game of the Year, but I think that would be kind of depressing, because that game, when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, is the same thing as Far Cry 3. Just with some subtle improvements and, in my opinion, a bigger map. Wolfenstein: The New Order tells a story that actually kept me interested. Granted, it's not the best one ever. Gameplay was excellent. Graphically, the game is beautiful. It just plays super well. Like, I have never played a shooter quite like that before. Like, because I'm still kind of getting used to the whole 60 frames per second thing coming from older consoles, things like that. Like, when I first started playing games at 60 frames per second, it used to give me a headache and stuff like that, and I was really wary to upgrading to that sort of frame rate. But Wolfenstein: The New Order helped usher in, like, I can play a shooter at 60 frames per second and not get sick. Really good game. Game of the Year for me. I highly recommend it. Definitely the best FPS of the year, without a doubt. Definitely pick this game up. It's like half off now. You can find it for around $30. I see it floating around there, somewhere around that price level. But God, that game was amazing, and that's why it's my Game of the Year. As I mentioned before, Ground Zero's honorable mention. Far Cry 4, also an honorable mention, because even though it is more of the same, it's still enjoyable. I mean, more of the same is not necessarily a bad thing. That is, unless they come out with a Far Cry 5, and then it's like, okay, it's the same thing. You guys need to change it up a little bit. Pagan Min, I felt, was a much better villain than Voss. I think that Voss from Far Cry 3 was vastly overrated. He wasn't even really that good of a villain, nor was he even the main villain of that game. Spoiler alert. The main villain of that game is introduced pretty late into the game and kind of comes and goes. I didn't really like Voss too much because also everybody kept on quoting that stupid line he has that you ever heard of the definition of insanity, which I felt was just really bad writing. That entire like that whole spiel that he has in that game is just not good. Pagan Min, on the other hand, is a more restrained, more psychotic Handsome Jack, and I don't even really like Borderlands for that matter, but Pagan Min was entertaining to deal with. Like, for example, one of my favorite things that he ever did in the game was that he just calls you up on the radio just to make sure that you're still listening. I mean, it might not sound too funny describing it to you on camera here, but when you're in the context of the game and you just like get done blowing up an outpost and he's just like, oh, hey RJ, just making sure that you're still there. Alright, ta-ta. Like, that is just, it's the small things. It's the small things with that game. Other than that, it really hasn't been that eventful of a year for me. I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5 got a re-release that I'm currently playing through right now, and I guess I'm having more fun with it on PS4 than I did on PS3 because, God, it's like night and day with that game, with those two editions. PS3 is hot garbage compared to the PS4 version. Really, really fun. Sometimes I pop over to my friend Vince's place, and he has an Xbox One, and we were playing the Master Chief Collection. And this isn't necessarily an honorable mention, but I would put it on my list if the multiplayer actually was stable for it. The multiplayer still has a lot of issues, and I'm not exactly sure what Microsoft or 343 are currently doing with that, but they should really get that resolved, because I have a feeling once that gets resolved, I'm probably going to purchase an Xbox One just for that collection. Also, there were a few other games like Sunset Overdrive, which looked pretty interesting. I know that that's all game of the year because he said it was a really, really good game. And I would have put Master Chief Collection on there if the multiplayer would have worked, as an honorable mention. As far as other games this year, it's just been a really uneventful year. At this point, I'm just waiting for 2015 to come around, because 2015, at least I hope, is going to be an infinitely better year. I mean, right off the bat in January, you have something that appeals to my personal taste, and that is a re-release of the Resident Evil remake on PS4. I cannot wait for this game to come out. It's going to be, like, right off the bat, I get a game that I know that I feel safe in pre-ordering, because, number one, I love that game. I will play this game over and over and over again. I play through all the Resident Evil games every October. This is something that I'm glad is getting a re-release on current gen consoles. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I'm telling you guys, and I encourage everybody to buy it to show Capcom that we want true survival horror, not this stupid action adventure crap that they had in Resident Evil 6, or even Revelations for that matter. Revelations, in my opinion, was not a step forward. It was kind of more of the same. As far as this year goes, The Evil Within was a bit of a disappointment. I played a little bit of that around launch, and didn't work for me. Sorry, Shinji Mikami. Alien Isolation. Very, very good looking game. Gets super boring because of how long it is. That game is like 20 hours of doing nothing but crouch walking and hiding from androids, people, and an alien. Which, by the way, the androids in that game are creepier than the alien, which, in my opinion, is a bad thing, because the game's called Alien Isolation. It's supposed to be about the alien, not the androids. People complained about the AI with the alien. I never had any issues with it. I never felt that the alien was stupid. I actually felt that he was very smart, very conniving, methodical in some senses. I enjoyed my time with Isolation, but that game was just way too long. And I know I kind of got sidetracked from 2015, but Resident Evil reminded me of The Evil Within. 2015, in my opinion, is just going to be a much better year than this. 2014 has been a really rough transition year, probably the roughest that I can remember in recent memory. I really don't know what to say other than I hope 2015 is better than 2014, both from a game release perspective and also from a social perspective, because the whole, we had Gamergate, and I never really voiced my opinions on Gamergate because I didn't want to enter myself into the fray for no good reason, because my opinion on Gamergate would have just been shut down by the opposition, because the social justice movement is a movement that will not listen to an opposing opinion. They will railroad you and twist your arm into seeing their way. And personally, I feel I don't support the movement at all. I think that it's unfair, and these people seem to think that they're entitled, which, funny enough, is what they seem to claim people like me are, that we are entitled. Well, political correctness and we don't jive. It's not cool. And I think that's really all I'm going to say on the whole social justice thing, other than I don't support it, and I don't want to hear about it anymore in 2015, put it to you that way. But all the people who are making death threats to Anita Sarkeesian and all this stuff, and the whole Zoe Quinn crap, guys, you you cannot prove a point by threatening to kill somebody. The best way to counter somebody like this is to, one, ignore them, or B, come up with an intelligent counter argument against it. It's not that hard. The neo-feminist movement is a movement that is built up on nothing but one of the weakest foundations I've seen when it comes to a social movement. Trust me, guys, it's not that hard. And if you just forget about Anita Sarkeesian existing, she will go away. The only reason why she's still relevant is because you guys keep on sending death threats to her and making her relevant in the news again. If you forget about her, she'll go away. She'll lose her power. It's a lot like the ending to A Nightmare on Elm Street. If you just acknowledge that the person is there and then just kind of forget about it, deny their power by forgetting about them, they'll go away. I can't believe I just compared Anita Sarkeesian's power to that of Freddy Krueger. I'm kind of awesome. I don't really have anything else to say with this. Game of the Year, Wolfenstein The New Order. Please buy that game, because it was awesome. And that's all I've got. Here's to 2015. I personally cannot wait. So, as far as the gaming channel goes into 2015, I know I haven't exactly been the best person putting out content in 2014. I'm going to try to put myself back on a schedule, probably starting next week. I want to have at least 3 videos a week. God, if I can't even manage that, then why do I even run an account? Let's Plays are coming back. I'm going to start with a PS2 title, one that I've actually been... It's somewhere... Yeah, it's on the shelf down there. It's something that I've been wanting to capture for a while. It's just that hunting down a PS2 that works was actually kind of difficult for me for a while there, and maybe that's a story that I'll tell on another date. But first Let's Play of the year, I think we're going to go with Enter the Matrix. A game from the early 2000s that probably deserves to be forgotten. So I kind of want to get the Let's Plays back up on the docket and hopefully make more videos talking about news and things like that. Getting more podcasts up. I know my friend Vince has shown some interest in coming into podcasts a lot more often now, because he did the last Pwnecast, and at the end of it he was like, wow, that was actually really fun. I kind of want to keep on doing this, which is all fine and dandy for me, because people with we all have varying work schedules and school schedules and things like that, so it's kind of hard to nail people down to get this podcast thing going. So it probably still will be a little infrequent, but when we get one out, we'll definitely get one out. Derek and I, we've been we already have another channel open. It just hasn't been active for a while. We're still kind of doing the James Bond commentary project that we started earlier in 2014. That's still going pretty good. So hopefully we'll get those finished before Bond 24 comes out in November. But yeah, I just kind of want to get myself back up onto a set schedule when it comes to the gaming stuff. I have a capture card down here that is literally collecting dust, and I want to do more review videos. There's so much stuff I want to do, and hopefully along the way, with your guys' support and comments and criticisms, even constructive criticism, as a matter of fact. I do read comments, by the way, what little I do get of them. And I do listen to what people have to say, and I think it kind of separates me a little bit from some other people. Some other people just do not read comments, and yeah, I enjoy your guys' input, because some of you guys are actually pretty funny when it comes to the input and notice my little muck-ups every now and then, so it's pretty good. Here's to 2015. I've been rambling on for way too long. See you guys in 2015. Phantasm Mask here, signing out.